goodness.
Making sure. Now we're just making sure it works.
Well, some
see
even
here.
haven't done it, so.
Right?
How you been?
Not too bad. It's been a little bit.
Hanging in there?
Yes.
Crazy stuff.
Oh my
Crazy
gosh.
stuff.
I've drove a bus. I just. There we go. Yeah. We're good, guys, so they can hear every conversation I'm having.
Living the dream. Hey.
We got all three of us here, so.
Just get inside move that helps.
There is stop and water over here if you want to go ahead and grab one before we start today's meeting. Probably start here in a couple minutes as we have a few people coming in here, making sure we're ready to go with our live stream. Go ahead and grab.
Good, how are you?
Public or Lord's?
Other than I know for a lot of us, this might be the first time that we as ADs have been able to meet at a meeting in person, so I think a lot of us are hopefully excited to see each other once again and share some of our trials and tribulations here this morning. I'm Derek Fink. I'm the Activities Director at Denison High School, Denison Celestial Activities. I commend all of you for being the leaders at your athletic and activity programs during these unprecedented times. Although we prefer to get things back to normal as soon as possible, I think the successes that you've had throughout the spring and summer and then the fall this year are things that will be memorable for you. And Friday nights, football games, getting back to a little bit of normalcy, those Saturday morning volleyball tournaments, preparing for those cross-country meets, all things that I think we welcome back. And we're excited to see kids back and experience those opportunities for those races, matches, and games, to see the thrill of victory, and sometimes even the agony of defeat is still better than some of the things we did this spring. So once again, I want to commend all of you and your efforts throughout these past 6-7 months here. New ADs, I know a lot of times the advice, coming from guys that have been in the profession, this work is rewarding. I know you stepped into probably a situation that many of us, as prior ADs or past ADs, or those that have a lot of experience, we haven't experienced it either. But the work is rewarding. It is worth it. Hopefully you can lean on people in this times and lean on each other together and share your experiences and what works and maybe some change that you'd make throughout these times and in the future. Your ability to collaborate and work together will always forge those strong relationships that you'll need as time goes on. So welcome to today's meeting. Hopefully today you're able to learn some new ideas or take some things back to your programs to your benefit. As we get started today, Atlantic Bottling Company has donated the water and popcorn today, so thank you to them. Subway in Atlantic, I believe, has donated cookies as well as then your meals for today, so thank you to those two sponsors. Typically we have a lot of sponsors, but thank you to those people in today's current climate. We're unable to maybe have some of those vendors this year. The Cass County Community Center for allowing us to host today's event, so thank you to those entities as well. Thank you to our Southwest Iowa ADs, Executive and District Directors. I know I'm currently from Panorama, our Southwest Senior Director Jeff Beeson at Glenwood, our Southwest Junior Director Bo Jacobson at Underwood, our Southwest Iowa VP Zach Clark at Central Decatur, and then our Southwest Secretary Josh Porter from Corona. So thank you guys for helping set up today and making today a success for us. At this time, any new ADs, would you please stand up and we'll work our way around the room. You can introduce yourself and your name and then your school. I'll just go from right to left by me.
What do you want to say, by the way?
Yep, just your name and then the school that you're working with.
Yep, I'm Dave McDonald. I'm at Logan Magnolia.
John Weinrich, Shenandoah.
Mark Erickson, Red Oak. Cody Matheson, ACGC.
Scott Dial, Mount Earth.
Jerry Miller, Nanoy Valley.
Mike Power, Carroll Kemper.
New ADs, Southwest Iowa. Welcome. You want to stand up and let everyone know who you are, how many years you've worked, where you worked at, anything you'd like to share with us. Harley, we'll go ahead and start with you and work our way around this way.
Harley Schieffer, I'm retired from Clarinda, now the executive director of this association, and I would introduce someone here, Jeff Cook, who is our president, and I'll let the president of the IHS ADA this year. So Jeff will tell you about himself.
Thanks, Harley. Retired from Pleasantville this past spring. Didn't realize what good timing it was when I did it, but sure I'm glad I did it. I commend all of you for all the stuff you've been going through. Still in on some of those. Most of you that know me would find this year fitting for my presidency because you were all worried about how it was going to go anyway. Nobody knew it was going to be quite like this. But thank you very much for having me. Harley and I are traveling together to all the district meetings, and this is our middle one on our five tour stop. So thanks for having me.
Dave Hoff, retired from Nottoway Valley, 26 years as an AD in 3 different districts.
Kevin Luntz, retired from Stanton.
Is that all?
That's it.
Don did Stanton, 40-some years there, about 16 or 17 at AD.
Southwest Iowa retired ADs. person who first hired me, so, you know, who you know and building those connections. Hopefully I don't have any, you know, things to bear with Mr. Huff, and any bad stories he has probably aren't true. But and once again, thank you guys for coming and sharing our experience today at our meeting. I'll handle it off to Bo Jacobson.
Morning.
Morning.
I will take the opportunity to announce our Southwest Iowa High School and Middle School AD of the Year. We had some great nominations this year, so appreciate those that put the names out there that truly deserve this. Our Middle School AD of the Year is Corey McCarville of ICAM Mannings. And our Southwest Iowa High School AD of the Year is our own Derek Bain. Congratulations.
Thank you, Bo. With that, we'll keep moving on in our order of events today. Now up, we'll have our representative from the Iowa High School Boys and Girls Athletic Association and Unions that'll go up here to speak. I believe we've got several to meet.
Yeah,
Oh,
Mr. Keating will introduce us.
all right.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for having us. On behalf of Gene, who's not able to be here today, and me and our staffs, it's great to finally, get out and be mask to mask with people instead of looking at each other on a screen. But thank you for having us here. Today we have from our staff at the Athletic Association, Jared Chizek and Todd Tharp are here, our assistant directors. From the Girls Union, Craig Enen and Jason Essen are up here. So we're happy to be with you and share a few things and answer any questions that you guys might have. We do that, even if you have to sit across the room from somebody, do as much as you can. A few weeks ago, the country's broke up into sections by the National Federation, and we're in what's called Section 4. So that's Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Ohio. And we met a few weeks ago, and then there's Section 5, which I also get invited to because those states border us as well. Missouri, Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, and Kansas. And those were the only two that went face-to-face this year. All the other, and to share some things together. There's just something about that physical presence that really does matter. So I thank you for this opportunity. I was just mentioning to Jared in the back as I listen to you guys just introduce things and recognize new ADs and retired ADs, the sponsorships you do, the raffle stuff you do. This is only my second year, so I've been through this doing their thing, and they're doing it well. But you guys have it kind of figured out here, and the camaraderie, the fellowship, and making it feel like it's something special, I think is really important. So continue doing what you're doing there. I think that's critical. The other is that understand that we know we can empathize with the challenges that you're feeling, and we understand that every day. I don't know how you guys feel, but every day when we walk in the office anymore, we're just thinking about, okay, what's coming at us today? Because just when you think, all right, we've got to be with you, and you think, are you kidding me? Now I gotta deal with this. So we get it. And the analogy I used the other day at the Southeast meeting was, it's like being pecked to death by chickens. You're just all day long. They're calling you, emailing you, stopping in, and what about this? What about this? What about this? And it's hard to stay on top of all of it. And you know that the information changes, if not weekly, it changes daily. And so what you're doing today may be different than what you did 6 weeks ago, and it's based on the information that you're getting. We know that our state basketball tournament, if we had to do that over again, I don't know if you remember what we did. We limited it to 100 fans from each team, which meant only the families. And so there were 100 people from each school, and they were all packed into one section, right? if we had it to do over again, we'd have put like 5,000 in there and spread them out. But we didn't know then what we know now. So we get it, things change, and you need to make those changes as well. You're doing the best you can for the families that are in your communities, and I think that's all they can ask. You are providing something that is critical right now. You know, the kids take, if we didn't know how much activities meant to kids before this, I think we do now. You know, we understand the values that they get out of that, but the emotional, the social, the psychological benefit to being able to be involved in something familiar and something that you enjoy and something that you love is beyond measure. And you're taking the crap and you're digging through the difficult times to make it happen for them. And I know that the first couple weeks, I'm sure everybody expressed their gratitude to you, and everybody expressed how much they appreciated what you were doing. And then that's kind of faded, and now it's like, well, how about this? Well, what about that? Well, why can't we do this and why can't we do that? And I'd say go back to the line that I use, and some of you have heard with me from time to time, that says, remember when you said you would do anything as long as we could just play? You know, let's go back. You're not aware, you know, Minnesota, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois still isn't playing. Indiana, Wisconsin, they were not playing. And we did. And now they are playing, except for Illinois. And part of it, not all of it, but part of it is the work that you guys have done and your coaches and your kids to show people we can do this. You know, if you don't know much about me, know this. I have never been afraid of taking a step forward, and I never will be. We've talked in our office that why would we put a stop sign up ourselves? We're not medical experts. If the medical community came to us and said, it is absolutely not safe enough to play, you are not playing, then we stop. But until then, we're going to give people the opportunity to do the things that we think they need to do. And we were sort of the leaders in the sense that we had been doing it, so people said, how's it going? What did we learn? What do we know? And now we're exchanging ideas. So you've been the pioneers. You've been responsible for, quite frankly, getting a big part of the country back and going in a direction that kids needed to go. So at the end of the day, you know, hopefully, whether it's a glass of wine, a beer, a Diet Coke, whatever it is, sit down, soak it in a little bit, and understand what it's meant and how much responsibility you guys have for this. The other part of it is, sometimes not more, I get it. But you need to sometimes stop and just relax for you. You know, my lovely bride, when I go back to Cedar Rapids on Friday night, and I get up Monday morning and go back to Boone. But when I got there this weekend on Sunday, I said, you know, I need an hour and a half. I want to sit down, I want to watch my Eagles, and I want to have a beer. And I don't want to talk about anything. And I don't want to think about anything. I just want to do this. I want to watch them be the first NFL team to win their first game in week 5 of the NFL season and move into first place. What could be better? So I do think from time to time you need to try to do that. Whatever diversion you can get. You know, whether it's if it's an assembly, find a chance to get in front of your kids. Ask a coach if you can just talk to kids for a little bit and get some input from them. I was fortunate enough to, Xavier asked me a few weeks ago to come. They had a little day where they do these mini sessions for their kids. And they asked me to come over and do a talk on locker room talk, you know, and how damaging that can be for the females in their school if the guys develop this culture of, you know, talking about young ladies in this way or this way or this way and how they approach it. The therapeutic value for me that day was off the charts because I was doing something that was different than, you know, what I'm doing all morning long. Try to get around those kids and you'll remember why you're doing what you're doing, no doubt about it. So, all right, enough from me for that, right? We are happy to present some information for you. I think the one thing that we hear a lot is, why don't you guys, meaning us and the Girls Union, just make these mandates, tell us these things, and so everybody will do the same thing. And the answer is this, and you guys know it from your positions. When we make blanket policy, then we get phone calls that say, that doesn't work for us. Here's why. And why do we have to do it that way when our situation is like this? When we don't do it, then we get phone calls that say, you know, if you would just tell us that we have to do it this way, parents would get off my back, the other district would get off my back, the coaches would get off my back, etc. We get it. We're trying to find a balance. We're trying. We want to give you the option of local when it makes sense, and we want to give you the option of our guide, or we want to give you the benefit of our guidance when we can do it. So no, we're thinking about it. We don't just sit in a room and say, let's just throw that out there. We've got some stuff we'll share with you that I hope will help today. As always, we'll be around if you need us to answer questions. We'll be happy to do that. But again, you know, I mean, I say it all the time. Your kids are lucky, and your communities are just blessed to have you doing what you have. But in this day and age, in this time that we're in, you're the ones. There's no doubt about it. Nobody else is dealing with what you're dealing with, and we get it. So if we can support you in any way, give me that phone call, send a quick email, and I'll get back to you on the phone. Our staff will do the same. But know we're in your corner, and know we're very, very proud. My car up with ticket rolls, which she said, give those away. And so nobody's leaving until all those boxes of tickets are gone. And I'll do it like a t-shirt salesman, just come out to the truck and I'll open it up and you take whatever you need. So if you need those rolls, they're there. Thanks again for having us. I appreciate it. I'll turn it over here to Todd. Todd, thank you.
Well, like I said, despite not having chicken and roast beef and mashed potatoes, we still decided to come down here to Atlantic anyway. So that's normally, we just come down here for the meal, and this is just all part of it anyway. So we'll stay for the subways as well, too. So we're going to take about the next hour and 5 minutes to kind of have a joint presentation between the girls' athletic union and ourselves. So the first section of it, just going to be some updates, some previews of some things coming up. As we go through, trying to give you a little bit of guidance regarding just a peek at some things regarding junior high, stuff that Jared will talk about, and then we'll kind of end at the end, kind of an eligibility refresher. Again, had some situations with some transfers. You know, we didn't realize that, and again, probably shame on us, that Iowa would be the hotbed for everybody from California to Maine wanting to come to Iowa to play sports, and particularly football for the most part. So yes, we had a family from Maine contact one of our schools about playing football here. So it was a broad range. So maybe going into the winter here, we maybe still have some schools that might not be, some states might not be having their winter program, just to provide some guidance for you. So a couple things starting here. We'll start with you with some cross-country stuff.
I said, hopefully the news, like I said, the news came out last week that we are splitting state cross-country meet, and coach, athlete, and spectator expectations. We're going to have a Zoom meeting Monday morning following qualifying for all participating schools. Gary and I do not anticipate this meeting lasting longer than 40 minutes. Mainly we're talking some logistical issues. Again, we're not going to run, again, no 4As in the room, but those 3A schools, you run at 3:30 with your girls. You know, talking about encouraging your fans to arrive at 2 o'clock rather than showing up at 10:30 in the morning and tailgating, where we're trying to put in a safe environment for all parties to participate, also then have great experiences as well too.
Again, Jerry, you want to talk about some of the Zoom meetings that will be coming up here about too for the winter?
So as we did with the fall and we did with baseball in the summer, we will do preseason Zooms with coaches in the morning, or excuse me, coaches at 6:30, officials at 9. Todd, Gary, and Chuck Brett will be doing the basketball ones on the 27th. Todd and Jason will be leading one on bowling on the 28th. And I'll be leading one on boys swimming on Monday, November 2nd. Again, take pictures now. Links will be sent to you and to your coaches.
I'm going to jot down or grab those real quick so that you can get prepared for them. I'll take a second here before we move on here. So,
and just like those past meetings, like again for the summer and the fall, they will be recorded, transcripts will be posted, so if you cannot make that, those resources will still be available.
All right, so moving on, I think we have some girls' things here. Dr. Enan.
A couple things there. In tennis, we had some updates that changed, and this actually happened in this part of the state. And the new rule is that in team tennis, that you had 6 players you had to start with. If you don't have 6 players that can start, you're going to still be able to play team tennis now. All you have to do is call the office, and then we'll go through how you're going to set that up. But this happened at least 3 times in this part of the state. So that's a nice rule change. Also, it says, you know, if play is to be moved indoors, that the girls' union will now pay for that. We are very concerned about loss of school time. And so we're saying, you know what, if you can find indoor courts, we will pay for those indoor courts when you're in tournament play from now on. Rather than coming back another day, let's get it done if you can find indoor courts.
Volleyball?
Jason, you want to do volleyball?
Sure. First of all, good morning, everybody. Just to kind of give you some updates on volleyball. Lisa is back in the office making volleyball pairings right now. I think she is shooting for a Friday release on that, so be on the lookout for that. I'm sure we'll email that and put it on, and it'll be announced all over social media when we do get those done. Just for hosting, schools with regular season spectators, seating limitations need to contact us regarding expectations for hosting postseason volleyball. School with seating limitations are eligible to host. Financial accommodations will need to be agreed upon by the host schools. And we're here for the postseason. It's October, so we're going to regional class or regional volleyball starts on October 19th, and state volleyball tournament is November 2nd through the 5th, and that's a Monday, Thursday. So remember, that's different than what we've had in the past, and that'll be in Cedar Rapids.
It's also, and this is the year, it's a week earlier too, Jason, right? This is the flip-flop date with wrestling or with swimming and volleyball?
That is correct, yeah.
And that was because of that ad hoc group that we worked with, and we took your suggestions, and one of the biggest suggestions was volleyball postseason was too long. And so we made those changes.
And Craig, anything you can share regarding volleyball, seating limitations, or anything that's going to happen in the state tournament?
You know, we've been in contact, Jason, jump in here too. We've been in contact with Cedar Rapids on this already. They're looking at, there will be limited seating, but we're also going to be we're adding about 45 minutes to an hour in between matches so that the facility can be sanitized and clean. It'll be a mask mandate. Things, and there will be all this in communication to everybody, particularly if you make the tournament.
Thank you, Craig. Jason, I think some stuff here regarding some of your varsity bound information online forums.
Yes, most of you have done a really good job, from what I can tell anyway. We moved our online forms to Varsity Bound. A lot of you are using it, or I think if not all of you use it for quick stats, obviously, and that's part of that platform. But we did move our online forms to Varsity Bound this year, and like I said, I think most of you have been really good about filling out information, the site availabilities, and everything like that. Just double check to make sure that your school's team entry page is filled out. That's one of the things on the forms. And the site availabilities are completed. The big thing right now is also the host agreements, which is under the contract section of the of the online forms. But also just make sure that that needs to be. But anyway, the host agreements need to be completed before the start of regionals. That we need to have that information. That is different than the site availability form. You only need to fill out that host agreement form once. That's good for every sport that you fill out site availabilities for. I put out a video, it's on the coaches and administrators section of the website, that kind of takes you through the whole process. Biggest thing is, obviously, you have to have an account, and it's very easy. I do think it's a lot simpler to do than what we've had in the past, but the link to that is, if you want to take a picture of it, is at the bottom there. Also, I do plan on emailing that link out once everyone's gone to the meetings, but if you have any questions with those forms, please give me a call. I would love to help you out with it. Like I said, it's a simple process of just getting in there and getting it done. And we're going to be putting all kinds of forms. Basically, all of our online forms will be put there. Right now, we've got the main ones that we used to have on our online form section as far as the site availabilities, the official recommendations are all there now. But we'll probably put other things like tournament rosters and that we'll need for the postseason. Other postseason forms will be on there as well. We will have the cooperative sharing agreements will be done through Varsity Bound in the near future too. So we're moving everything we can over to that spot. So again, give me a call if you need help with anything.
Thanks, Jason. A couple more things. Craig, talk about music operates.
Last year, we kind of came at you guys with the BMI, ASCAP, copyright music things. If you're playing music before your volleyball matches, you have to have a copyright contract. If you don't, your school will be sued. We have a company that is looking at Iowa in particular. So don't take a chance on this. ASCAP, the National Federation of High School Activities, has brokered a contract. Anything that is an ASCAP music, you have rights to play anytime. BMI says you need to pay us a little bit of extra money. I have contracts over there. How many of you have the BMI contract? I think, Jeff, you said you had yours. Did they send you a renewal? Yeah. And now the new thing about the BMI contract is if you're doing a YouTube streaming, you have rights to stream the music over YouTube now. So BMI has really come forward. Get this contract. It'll cost you about $150. But that means you can play music in your school. You can play it before games, after games. You can play it in the elementary, middle school, because they haven't set up the middle school contract yet. So BMI says reasons why you definitely want to get this. Otherwise, you're rolling the dice. The school in Wisconsin was sued $25,000 for playing one song last year. Be careful with copyright with music. The scholarship rule. The scholarship rule has changed, and Jason, guys, jump in on this. Our scholarship rule has changed. Remember we used to have double jeopardy? Where I was serving it in, let's say I was a cheerleader, I served it in cheerleading, and then I was only in track. I had to serve it again in track. That is out the door now. And plus this year, everyone started eligible. So your first grading period was when this new scholarship rule will start. And basically says, if they serve it in 30 days in any activity, that is a big change. The Department of Education really helped us on this one. Now, if they are in basketball, speech, and show choir all at the same time, do they have to sit in all three? Yes. They're ineligible for 30 days in all three of those activities. But if I'm serving it in speech, and then I'm running track later on, I don't have to serve it in track because I already served it in speech. Anything else on that? Okay.
The last item there, yesterday I think you all got an email. Our Board of Control yesterday approved a recommendation to allow you the opportunity to basically extend beyond. I know a lot of you maybe lost some lower level games. Maybe you lost a game because of COVID, and you want your kids to be able to have an opportunity to play. So again, once your team has been eliminated from the postseason up through the 18th of November, 17th of November, will permit you to play additional contests, reaching the max of 7 games. But again, that's only if your school has lost a game because of COVID or because of derecho or whatever it might be, you will be able to play an additional contest. Again, we'll also extend that. Week 8 is where we'd like to have the majority of those games done. But again, if you can find somebody and you want to play, the beginning of week 9 on that Monday because you can get a game in on Monday of week 8, you can get another lower level game in on week 9 because somebody canceled out on you because of COVID. All right, let those kids play. So we're trying to provide as many opportunities for you as possible. Mr. Keating, anything you want to add on that, or Jared?
Let me add something. If you're in the Hawkeye 10, you've been doing this with your Hawkeye 10 tennis tournament. Because that tennis tournament has always been after the first 2 days of tournament play of the regionals. And so Hawkeye 10 has been doing this in tennis for years. And so we're looking at other areas to do the same.
So again, this is also for other sports as well too. So it's not just a football thing, but that's where the main focus has been. So again, if you want to, do something after cross country, or again, if your team got eliminated yesterday, if you're a 4A fall golf team and you didn't make the state tournament, and you want to have another golf meet because you got one, COVIDed out.
But you only have until this Friday.
Right, you only got till this Friday to do it, though, so you've only got a day or two to do it.
For cross country, you would only have until the Friday of the state meet on October 30th, so you'd only have a week after that. I mean, football is the big one because, again, given the 6-week format, that's where you can start picking up additional content.
And the same thing for volleyball and swimming and cross country as well too for the girls. So again, this is a broad blanket that we've tried to provide opportunities for you to get games in. Again, the key is you had to have had a game get COVIDed out, so you can only play 7 games. So Mr. Keating, anything to add?
Yeah, the only thing I'd add is go on our website and find it under the COVID stuff. But what you read on our website is what our board passed. So if there's anything outside of that, if you're thinking, well, if we can do that, then maybe we could do this, please call us and we'll give you an answer. But just know that if everybody just starts doing what they want to do, our board's going to come back to me and say, wait a minute, I thought this is what we passed. So if I know ahead of time, and then we'd also like to know if you're going to do that. If you could just email us and say, hey, we found a golf meet, we found a cross country, a couple teams to do a cross country meet with us. We found a football game on that Wednesday. Just let us know so we can kind of keep track of what's going on.
And the girls' union the same way. We just want to know. So just email us and say, hey, we're going to run this extra match after we got eliminated from the tournament. We're not going to say, no, you can't. We're just saying we need to know that.
And I'm going to go executive director here and just say, if you want to know, well, if we do that, do the stats count? Does the record count? The answer is yes. It's a regular season game. Put it in your record book at your school. That's fine. I'm not worried about that. We'll leave that stuff up to you. But we just thought, if teams, there are some teams that only played 2 or 3 games or had 2 or 3 meets, and if they can get a couple more in, get their kids to participate a little bit more, why not? Okay.
You still have to have certified officials, so you still have to have everything registered person with all that. So.
And here's why, right, Todd? Because if we don't go by what we would do in a normal game, I know it's going to sound a little bit weird, but and you might say, oh, what are the chances? The concussion insurance that is provided for your students, if you don't follow the protocol you would follow for a normal regular season game with officials, etc., you would not be covered. Or the kid would not be covered by the concussion insurance. So we want to make sure that that's in place because you just never know.
And Todd, is it the same with us? It's you can't have more games than the limit.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
So in other words, I've got 12 matches that were allowed. I can't schedule 14, 15 matches.
Right.
Correct.
Yep. All right, baseball and softball, again, just some dates for next year. Remember that similar to what Craig and Jason talked about, that this was the ad hoc committee decided to flip-flop volleyball and girls swimming. This is also the year 2021, particularly down there at the very bottom. This is when our non-contact period kicks in, is next summer. So that's Sunday, July 25th through Sunday, August 1st. All activities are off in your particular building. So there's no band camp, there's no swimming, there's no cheerleading, there's nothing that goes on in your school for that week. You're basically shut down for a week during that time frame of things. So those 6, 7, 8 days as well too. Notice the one conflict that we do have is during our state baseball tournament, July 23rd through the 31st, is also that dead week. So we're going to seek permission time. And then going forward for 2022, we're not quite sure where things are at regarding where baseball, but right now baseball and softball in 22, the state tournaments right now, tentatively are scheduled to be the same week, where our baseball is being moved up a week, and again, that goes with practices in the exact same. Jerry, anything to add regarding this?
I would just say, be prepared for anything for state tournament 2021 for baseball. We do, like I said, we're being honest. Our contract is up with the Cubs. They do not know what minor league baseball is going to look like in 21. They've been able to, in the past, request those 8 to 12 days away from Des Moines so we can play our tournament. They put the same request in, but with Major League Baseball taking over minor league baseball, who knows what we're going to end up with. So hopefully, they said their goal is middle of December to let us know what that schedule looks like. So we may need to be adjusting on the fly what the state tournament looks like here in 21.
Thank you. Jared, you've got some junior high stuff here now for you to talk about.
Let's just start with the preface of why are we attempting to wrestle? As Mr. Keating has already said, until someone comes out and says we're not wrestling, we're going to give it a try. I think we're all smart enough in this room to understand there are inherent risks with wrestling, like there have been inherent risks with football, with contact. And this is going to be guidance that I'm sure will be updated quite often by Mr. Curtis in our office. But we also know that depending on what part of the state you're in, it's a little different everywhere. With split seasons at the junior high level, some are actually starting wrestling practice next Monday. So this information needs to be put together for that, for those wanting to wrestle, like girls basketball before Christmas, then boys basketball afterwards. For that period of time to break that time frame. The mats and all surfaces need to be cleaned prior to and after every practice. Again, you're already doing this with skin disease and skin fungal fungus. So this is nothing new. We're just now reminding you, please, if you're already doing that, we're not worried about just impetigo and herpes and everything else this year. We're going to worry about COVID on top of it. But now here's your reason why you need to be clean. Let's talk about here for wrestling competitions. Teams need to be able to be socially distanced at the bench. Again, junior high level, what's the bench look like? It's probably the gym next door. It's the hallway. It's that completely different, that chaos of a junior high wrestling meet. We just need to find a place to space those teams out. Is it that we're going to have the Denison team in this hallway, we're going to have the Harlan team in this hallway, and the Glenwood team in a different hallway? What does that look like from a planning perspective? Mats will need to be cleaned prior to the start of competition, after 15 matches have been wrestled, and at the conclusion of competition. Where do we end up with 15? Again, this is just the junior high guidelines right now. Wrestling will be out here in a couple, or the high school level will be out here in a couple weeks. That recommendation is going to be, well, after every dual meet. Well, that's 14. For any individual tournaments, after every round. Well, the junior high level was an individual round. There really isn't one. So that's why we're at 15 matches. So again, we're cleaning the mats. Again, if you want to clean it more often than every 15, go right ahead. We know there's a concern. Yes, we can over-clean, but also we'd like that tournament over, or that meet over well before 10 o'clock at night. Wrestlers are going to have to sanitize their hands prior to and at the completion of the match. So, again, communicate if that sanitation is going to take place at the head table prior to, or it's going to take place at the bench area. Again, junior high is a little different. Again, we're thinking individual tournaments. We're also thinking at the high school level when we get there with dual teams and with tournaments on Saturday. But attempt to assign the same colored band for the same team. Or have teams bring their own ankle bands to your meet. Those bands are also going to have to be sanitized. So some of you have, I think, those ankle bands. And again, we're asking that kids arrive in the singlet in their warm-ups to eliminate the use of locker rooms to the best of our ability. Understand that there are still going to be needs for locker rooms, but again, to attempt to have those kids ready to wrestle when they arrive at the site. Or like I said, from a wrestling standpoint, again, a lot of this you're going to see in the high school guidance. Like I said, I think we're shooting for the 19th.
I believe so, yeah.
For all high school guidance, but with operators, if you're using track wrestling, if it's one person doing it, great. But if somehow that person needs to go and someone else needs to slide in, you're ready to sanitize hands and equip the best you can. And if we're using the old school, the Dave Huff method at state wrestling, let's make sure we sanitize those pencils for you, Dave.
What's that?
Glad he's paying attention.
Any questions regarding wrestling before we move on to basketball?
Again, we're going to give it a go.
Yep.
there are other states out there giving it a go, so we'll see where we end up with it.
The question, I don't think we've had anything regarding the number of people in corners. I don't know what Louis talked about regarding number of coaches in corners and managers. I mean, obviously, you'll mandate at your respective school, again, a lot of the stuff that you've been doing probably for volleyball, you'll probably continue to do here. So if you've been mandating, that all your spectators are wearing masks, then that would follow on here to wrestling. If you're requiring, your coaches to wear masks, social distancing wise, then those would be things that you would continue on. Again, notice we're not talking about concession stands, we're not talking about, meals or anything. That's all stuff that's, you'll be doing similar to what you have done in the past. But I would think regarding, I don't think we've talked about, usually there's 2 chairs in the corner. I would assume they'll be spread out, separated. I mean, with the new mandate with masks, everybody's wearing masks, you're not maybe worried so much about the social the tracing that's going on. But if 2 coaches are in a corner right next to each other, I don't think you have to maybe so much worry about the 6 feet distance anymore.
And I'm sure that's in the high school guidance, because I also know there's something in the high school guidance for school administrators can also consider regarding the 6 individuals slapping the mat. You guys are doing it in volleyball, and gals are doing it in volleyball so far. Personnel, being used, seating the teams, 2 rows of bleachers between the team and any fans behind them. Visiting teams are required to bring their own basketballs for warm-ups. And we don't have to worry about, hey, don't bring our balls tonight to Auburn. But we only have 1 rack is the idea that we're not crisscrossing game or warm-up balls at that point. Again, players are needing to sanitize their hands just at the end of each quarter. I know that's different. I guess in volleyball they're doing it after each timeout as well too, just the quarter here. And again, there is information out there that the Federation is giving each state, for whatever reason, the option of not doing a jump ball. If we're going to attempt to play the sport of basketball, the jump ball, it's 1 play. If there's someone out there that can prove us differently, I don't know why we wouldn't do it. We're shooting the same ball.
Ball's probably the cleanest at that time. So
if we're going to fight for a rebound, I think we can do it until. So that's where the visiting book will need to be.
if there's no room for them, obviously,
no room.
you'll decide if you've got a wide area where you can get a 3rd person in there, they can be social distancing, then you can put that official time for that visitor, but again, they should be prepared to be close. Again, that's just assuming that your bench area is the 1st row bleachers. I mean, if you've got it set up at your facility where you do junior high, like maybe you do high school, to where you've got chairs set up and then you've got a walkway and then your bleachers start, you'll dictate how you're going to set these up. But we're going on the assumption with that 2nd bullet point there is that the 1st row of bleachers is where your team sits at for the most part.
And your basketball players do need to sit. Unlike volleyball, where some of your bench personnel you've been able to extend it, and the girls have been able to stand, or basketball, the players will need to sit during the contest on the bench.
Any other questions regarding junior high basketball?
In full disclaimer, who knows where we're at here in 6 weeks? I mean, what could change? When we talk about spraying out bench personnel, if all of a sudden it's wear a mask, we cram everyone in there, who knows? Your guess is as good of ours right now, but this is our plan for understanding that we've got junior high programs starting here across the state here in the next week to get things rolling with those kids.
So high schools could be different coming out in a couple weeks.
If they, that's been the tough part, from our standpoint, is, we've been trying to relay information out about every 2-week cycle because we don't know what things will be in 2 weeks. So we have things in place right now on the 19th to share with you about high school basketball, about high school wrestling, about swimming. But, next week something might change and we'll have to adapt to it, or we might be a week in and all of a sudden something else changes and we'll go on the fly. And I know that's frustrating as heck as an AD. I get it. I mean, you want to be thinking about, I want something and I want to know what's going on in the next month or 2, or 3 months, or 4 months, and asking us about what's going to happen at Wells Fargo for wrestling, or what's going to happen with swimming, or what's going to happen with boys basketball or girls basketball. I don't have a clue right now. I mean, we have an idea if it was to start tomorrow what we would be doing, but things might change in 3 or 4 months, just like they might change. We're gonna give you stuff on the 19th that's gonna be for high school sports, for which, because I get the frustration, I mean,
But as
talk about
of
frustration.
right now, though, you're still planning on practice starting the same as normal?
Yes,
games starting
yep,
the same?
yep, absolutely, we have no,
16th, we're planning wrestling practice, boys basketball practice, and the 9th will be
9th for
swimming,
bowling,
girls
and
basketball, and all that fun
yep,
stuff.
absolutely, yep, thank you.
Jared, will you be sending this out this week to us, so we have all that?
Yep.
I do have some slides that I just got these 5 slides that we can get sent out to everybody, absolutely. All right, so we'll take about the rest, 35 or 40 minutes here, just talking about some eligibility aspects. Unless you've maybe had your head kind of buried in a hole for the most part, we've had some high-profile, both boys and girls have had some high-profile eligibility situations that have arisen. And we had this afternoon when we get back regarding an eligibility ruling. So, information that we're giving you today is based on past precedent on what we received from last week regarding to play, to wrestle in the state of Iowa already. And depending on what their seasons are going to be doing somewhere else, like I said, we're still planning on going when we're supposed to for winter. Minnesota, some of those states that had a later start, they might be pushing theirs back, and those kids may not want to wait, thinking that hey, we're not going to have a program, so we might still decide to hop over to Iowa and wrestle here or play basketball, or whatever it might be. So we want to continue to provide some guidance for you with some scenarios and situations. So first off, and your thought processes of these scenarios of whether or not you think this student would be eligible or ineligible, and then we'll kind of walk through each of those. So Jared, why don't you...
Once again, to repeat Todd's disclaimer, as we joke about with COVID and the information coming 2 weeks, he just shared with me we have 2 more hearings at the DE. You may get an email from us here in 10 days saying, sorry for wasting an hour of your life in Atlantic, Iowa. That presentation's out the door.
Right.
So that's where we're at right now. It's frustrating. As Mr. Social Distancing, we've been dealing with eligibility. And no one's feeling bad for us. I would suck contact tracing, so I'll take the phone calls and eligibility compared to figure out who was sitting next to Sally in math class and who's out for Friday night. But this has been our fault, and personal feeling, it's frustrating when we think that we thought we were interpreting 30 years of precedent and being thrown out the door. And that's Jared Cheezick, non-athletic association employees.
Wouldn't we long for the days of ADs of the good old phone call from a parent shooting our butt because our kid isn't getting enough playing time? Don't we long for those days right now? Would rather have that than have to go back, like I said, and social trace so you can see where everybody's been at. I would long for a phone call about something regarding playing time would be a great refresher.
I'm sure we'll both get emails regarding football postseason assignments Saturday, cross-country assignments next week, and I'm sure someone will make a football call here in the next 6 weeks that's going to make everybody just really happy.
Long for that day of questioning what do we know in our office about things. So first off, you or your principal are you're responsible for the eligibility of your athletes. What happens in the fall? Where we have the kids that come in and they want to play football, they want to play volleyball, they want to run cross country. And so we maybe get 75 to 80% of our kids taken care of right away. But maybe now you had that, sorry Aaron, but maybe now this is the first time you had that student that is, now coming into Shenandoah and he's transferring from somewhere else or she's transferring from somebody else, and the winter sport is the first sport that they're interested in wanting to play in. And so maybe they've kind of slipped through the cracks because we haven't really been focusing on them. So we need to find out, is that student eligible or not? So I think the first thing that you need to do is and so declare them ineligible to begin with. And now then, yourself or with the help of us, let's see if we can find one of those 8 or 9 exceptions under the transfer rule, or one of those 10 exceptions under the open enrollment rule to see how we can make them eligible. And that's what we try and do in our office. It's not our goal to try and see how many kids we can make ineligible. We don't have little, knife carvings in our, on our wall saying, yes, Jared leads the. but sometimes they just don't meet any of the exceptions. So when, so that student that's coming in or that's there now and did play a fall sport, let's assume that they are ineligible and see what can we do to make them eligible. And the second thing is there's that eligibility transfer checklist that's on our website. It's under coaches and administrators on our website. Print that form off. Or it's the 75 or 80 that Deanne Kramer gets at Pleasant Valley on the other side of the state. And she has one for all of those. So that she can then go back, because that's your protection, is to have that eligibility checklist. Because, surprise, surprise, parents aren't always truthful with you. Imagine that. They're trying to do whatever they can to get their child eligible, so they might fib a little bit to you. So again, by having signatures from them, that helps protect you from that. So thinking of those two things, and we'll see what we can do. So first scenario,
Do not rush through the process. I mean, we both got a phone calls this fall. We have a kid that moves in on Friday. Can he play tonight? Hell no. Let's just make sure that he's actually enrolled in school. I mean, that's item number one. So again, we understand there's pressure. Mom and dad want him to play. Has the kid even practiced? Does he have a physical? We have a transcript.
Out the window and say, why are we even having this? If this is the case, then after reading through a little bit more, we found it was it's just a narrow part of the definition of things regarding, eligibility at a different place that you had in Clarinda. What's up with that place? Is it still yours? Is it up for sale? Have you sold it? Were you renting it and now your rent is up and somebody else has moved into it? So what's up with that previous residence? So I want some sort of documentation if I'm you of what's up with that place. So if it's a house, is it up for sale? Technically they can't have two different residences. So we don't want them driving back and forth and living in, Clarinda for 3 days and living in Shenandoah for 4 days. All right, they need to establish that they are going to be living in your place. Understanding that they still own that place, maybe they have to go back and mow the yard, they got to take care of things, but they should not be living in that previous residence. It doesn't need to be sold. In other states, that house needs to be sold before they can. We're not quite that, liberal with things. And then again, where are they living in your district? Are they renting a house? Have they purchased a house? So again, I want some sort, if I'm you, I want some sort of proof that they are living in your district. Again, we don't have us in the two offices that deal with eligibility. I don't have enough time to go, sneaking down into, the suburbs or into Des Moines and watching people to see the lights will on at 2 o'clock in the morning to see if they're actually there or not. It's not going to happen. I'm too tired. I got to sleep, so I'm not going to stay up till 2 in the morning to do that. But again, we're not expecting you to do that as well too. Again, it comes back to, to trust those parents in that checklist. Again, some things, this is a huge, wherever they need to, it shows that this is where their voter registration takes place. And this is where they can vote. Changing driver's license, that one's a little bit scary right now. It might take 2 or 3 months. I know in Metro and Des Moines, Ames area, it might take 2 months before you get in to get your to get your driver's license changed out. I mean, they'll send you a form that says you are confirmed to come here on November 4th or November 8th to get your driver's license changed to give you an appointment. But regarding going in and getting a driver's license like you were in the past, isn't happening right now, at least in Central Iowa. Maybe it is in other areas of the state. Now, again, a utility bill. Are you getting, right, if I'm living, at 307 Christian Street in Ames, I should be getting a Mid-American energy bill, or I should be getting an Alliant electric bill that says that I'm paying for utilities there. They don't just make those up. Right? So there should be a utility, or maybe it's a cable bill. So again, G, you want some sort of you want the divorce decree that says who is the primary custodial parents. And if they didn't like mom's rules and now they want to go live with dad, does that make them immediately eligible? We'll talk about some of those scenarios. And then you get also some confirmation about the other siblings that are school-aged. We decided that we're going to move here, but we've got two children that are still living back in the other school district. Maybe they'll be eligible, maybe they won't be. So again, confirm, there's a box in there on that checklist. Is the entire family living in this residence? If that box is checked no, right, we got some red flags, and again, that's where you can contact us and we'll help you through that process. Again, we're not, that's a lot of pressure on you to look at that bottom one and you're going to declare a kid eligible or ineligible. I appreciate and respect your nervousness of checking that box on your own. And we're here to help you go through all of those steps before you do check that box. Because when you tell Ash, all of a sudden we found out that she shouldn't have been eligible, and now suddenly we start forfeiting games and forfeiting matches, you don't want to have to go back to your community and say, well, I guess we have to forfeit those 4 volleyball matches. Or, you know what, we have to give our trophy back because we won state cross country, and we have to give that trophy back because we had an ineligible runner all year because I checked them eligible and they weren't. That's a lot of pressure on you, and we're here to help you out and walk you through all those aspects. And so, a lot of people say, I think I know the answer. Awesome. And you just want confirmation from us? I'll take that 5-minute phone call every day of the week and twice on Saturday and Sunday just to give you the peace of mind that spot on, you got it figured out.
Todd, you want to talk about on letters also the aspect of separation, because separation is being used a little bit now too. So you want to speak about that?
Yeah, there might be, like I said, I had a phone call from a mom yesterday. Tough situation, but mom and dad are going through, they call it a trial separation, to where they're going to, the dad's going to go live in one community and she's going to stay in her community, and one child's going to stay with her and one child's going to go with him. And they're going to be, who thinks he's eligible? Come on, don't sit on the bench. Who thinks ineligible? Gary?
They're eligible.
Again, following that checklist thing. More likely than not, probably eligible. Keep going, Jerry.
Family lives in A. Family stays in school district A, but sends high school student to school district B, and then gives uncle legal guardianship of the high school student.
Eligible. Thumbs up. I think they're eligible. To realize too, who in your school are these are the parents talking to? Are you the first line as the AD, or they might be talking to your principal or your superintendent or whatever? And so the questions that they're asking them are related to whether or not they're are residents in your district, or they open a road to allow them to be able to enroll in your school, which is one part, but that has nothing to do with their eligibility. And so that's a couple situations that have been a little frustrating, because they went, well, we talked to them and they said we met everything to enroll. Well, yeah, you have. But just because you enroll doesn't necessarily mean that you're automatically eligible for varsity athletics. So maybe some communication in your office, if you're not the first line of offense the first line of
School district B is actually closing their doors at the end of the year. So if I'm in school district A, can I leave the whole grade share?
If I'm a student in school district, if I go to school district C, am I eligible? Thumbs up. Ineligible, thumbs down.
Okay, what about the students at B? They've lost their high school. Are they eligible just at A, or are they eligible anywhere? Just the one time. Yep.
Keep going, Jared.
Family lives in A. Family stays in A, but open enrolls a student, or sends the student to B, again, and uncle with guardianship of the student ineligible.
Students eligible. Thumbs up. Who thinks they're eligible? Who thinks they're ineligible? Kent, why do you think they're eligible? If you return to your parents' district of residence, you are eligible. If you return back to your district of residence, so they went and lived with them. So again, this happens a lot. I know I use this, like I said, this happens in Cedar Rapids. Maybe it happens in the Davenport, or Georgia, or whatever, and they'll go to some, tennis academy. They'll build a big, brave tennis academy. Maybe they'll take some classes and they'll practice their tennis for a semester down in Florida. And then at the beginning of the second semester, they'll come back to Cedar Rapids and enroll in their classes in Cedar Rapids, and they are immediately eligible because they are returning to their district of residence with their parents. So the tricky part there with that. Why not eligible in this? What's different than the situation in the last one?
B. There you go,
I
Shelley.
would think B.
You cannot
They didn't
return.
move.
You cannot return to a place you never left.
They did, in this one, they didn't move. They're staying in the same place. So that's why they are ineligible, because as Jared said, you cannot return to a place you never left. I'm not returning to my district of residence because I've always lived with my parents there. Liberty Center to Indianola every day, and now you want to come back, you've never left, so you're not eligible upon that situation. And again, that's one where parents, that's a confusing one. Yeah, that's a tough one, and they don't quite understand that. Situation 6.
Mom and dad live in A. Mom files for divorce and moves to B and takes the sophomore girl with her, and the student enrolls in B. The junior boy stays with the father in A. So let's start with the daughter first. Is the girl eligible in B?
Eligible or ineligible? Eligible? Ineligible? Because of the divorce, they got to be eligible somewhere. So, I mean, both of these situations, the kids are eligible. Beginning of the divorce happened, they got to go somewhere.
This is, it was fair enough.
Final doesn't mean it legally is that.
I'll change that to as a result of the divorce.
The good news is, ladies and gentlemen, this is the third time this presentation's been given, and you're the first ones to point that one out.
Usually it's not complete until the divorce occurs, as a result of the divorce. So I'll update that for tomorrow. I'm sure those guys in Central Iowa aren't quite as smart as you guys are now. Sharing agreements. Coming next to our sharing agreements, Jared.
Okay, high school junior boy attends A, who has a cross-country sharing agreement with B. Junior boy now transfers from A to B and is still a member of the cross-country team.
Eligible?
And he's still running varsity cross-country.
Is he eligible? Not eligible. Again, one of the exceptions is if you are going to a place where,
Junior girl lives in A, and they have a sharing agreement cross-country with school B. She transfers to B to run cross-country and to play basketball. So both districts have their own basketball team.
So we've said that eligible in cross-country because of the sharing agreement. Right? What about for basketball? Eligible to play basketball? Ineligible to play basketball. Ineligible.
The most important thing here is when do those 90 days start counting?
When you start counting your 90 days? After the volleyball season? First day she enrolls in classes? First day she's in class? Jeff, when do you start counting those 90 days?
First day she and her role.
First day or butts in a seat? When you start counting those 90 days. So you've got an ineligibility period that's counting, even though she's eligible for one sport. So it's just kind of sounds a little goofy anyway for the most part.
Mom and dad and junior son live in A. Mom finds new employment in B. Mom and dad move to B, while the student lives with a family friend in A. Is the student eligible still in A with mom and dad being gone?
Eligible in A. Ineligible in A. As long as there's not been any type of an interruption in their schooling, mom and dad could live 1,000 miles away, mom and dad could live 10 miles away, wherever. But again, as long as there's an interruption, that student continues to be eligible at school district A when they're at the beginning. And again, it doesn't need to be a junior, it could have been a freshman or a sophomore, could have been a senior. So. You want to talk about this one? This is a goofy one. That's about the accommodation. We'll skip this one. This is anything you got dealing with 504s and IEPs, I would just give us a call.
Yeah, that's the easiest answer. It's in agreement with somebody else. There are options that students make a choice of where they want to be eligible, and it's dedicated for the whole year. That's a trick one. But
I have to live with mother for 1 year. All of a sudden, the high school boy did not like mom's rules. Suddenly, I got to turn the keys in. That information you have, when he goes back to live with dad, he thinks he's eligible. Ineligible? To have a grace period to where we would say, we give you one free move. No matter what happened, we give you a freebie and say, all right, yeah, we'll give you one move. All right, again, we had a court case where the judge, a divorce situation, and again, when judges give their rulings, I mean, it's usually pretty high-tech terminology and things that they're using. He used the word mockery in his, when he was finishing and giving his conclusion. He said, this would make, he says, to allow a student to go back and forth between divorced parents would make a mockery of the transfer rule. I mean, that's pretty tough language for a judge to say that. So then we got our hands slapped and said, nope, you can't do that anymore. So we went from allowing it to being told by the DE that you guys can't do that anymore. Now again, if there's a change in that divorce decree, which again is exception 4, if suddenly now the dad, if the mom is the primary custodial parent and somehow they get a change where dad's the primary custodial parent, there's been a 4 in the code. It says change in marital status of one of the parents, or it says if there's been a change in that custodial.
To attend a non-public school within that boundaries for their junior year.
Eligible?
Student eligible.
I mean, this is St. Albert's. I mean, this is a kid that lives in Council Bluffs. They are ineligible. The non-public schools, residential boundaries are the same as that is the public school.
For the transfer.
We're transferring, so ineligible. So again, and if we go vice versa too, the student was at St. Albert's.
Oh, dang it, I just stole 14.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did, I know. There we go, yeah. So it's up in the situation, so I attend St. Albert for 2 years, and then all of a sudden,
She stole 15.
yeah. So again, now they go to school district A, now it's in a non-public school outside of B, again, still ineligible. So I'm at Lewis Central, and I want to go to St. Albert. I'm ineligible. Non-public school. And again, all right, here's good.
Again,
I've always been confused on this one with the public and private. So like, using St. Albert again, their boundaries, wouldn't that be the whole Council Bluffs area? So if a kid was living in Lewis Central and moved into the AL district,
they would be eligible, then they'd have the choice of Council Bluffs Public or St. Albert. So they're not bound, like you said, I don't know St. Albert if it was a public, which the students that live, and being eligible at St. Albert.
But Lewis Central is a different school district than AL and TJ and St. Albert.
okay.
We're considered in the Council Bluffs school.
School district, correct. But Lewis Central is a different school district than the Council
So
Bluffs.
as far as a move, they would have to look at the public school district boundaries.
Yes.
But if they move from LC into Council Bluffs, they would have the choice of going to the 2 public schools or going to St. Albert.
Right.
They would have the choice of all 3 of those.
I always wondered how that worked.
Yeah. So again, here's 15 here.
So 15, we live in A, daughter attends the non-public school outside of school district A. Due to family reasons, the daughter wants the child to attend public school in A. The daughter has always lived with her parents. Are we eligible, or are we ineligible?
Eligible? Ineligible.
We're ineligible.
Yeah.
It's just
I've
a,
lived in A. I've gone to a non-public school outside of A, but now I want to come back to attend public school in A.
so this is the Lewis Central, I sent my child to St. Albert. We no longer like St. Albert, I want to come back to LC. It's 90 days.
Or the situation, like I said, more likely is, again, maybe because of COVID, maybe mom and dad have been furloughed, they haven't worked, and they can't, they can't afford the tuition anymore at St. Albert. And so they are at a non-public school, so are not an exception to granting that eligibility for the most part. So again, it's, some of these, again, get a little bit confusing, I think. Yes.
So how is that any different than a person that comes back to their original school district?
Because they've never lived, it all talks about where the residency has been for the student. So if I've always lived in a district, I can't return since I've always lived there. There's no open enrollment to a non-public, but this is basically rescinding open enrollment from another school to get back to the district of residence.
Again, the last situation here, this is the one similar that we had, changing the scenarios a little bit, but again, we have a single father with 4 children moves into school district A over the summer. 3 of the 4 children remain back in school district B, living with another family relative, while the father and the 4th child now live in school district A. The father travels back and forth to school district occasionally. Not a contemporary exchange, so we have half of the family living in one area and half the family living in another area. So we deem the student to be ineligible because not everybody moved here. Again, this is one where the judge overturned our administrative decision, or overturned the Board of Control who affirmed our decision that they were ineligible, and the judge said that this student was eligible. But again, there was a narrow part of it, all right, where we hung our head on the aspect of it wasn't a contemporary exchange because they still had a residence back in the other district. And the judge disagreed with that because they said that the parents did not, because the place that they had down there was not their residence, was actually in a trust fund. So they really did not own a residence. So again, our decision was overturned. So that's why we weren't ready to draw out exception 1 overall and say, all right, as long as they live in your residence, everything's fine. Who cares how many other residences they have? So again, this narrow little part of things has still kept the contemporary exchange aspect intact. So we'll find out more about that today, though. We'll see what the judge says today, because that one is logical. We do have somebody that everything that I told you, the situation is now crap because of a different interpretation of the judge. So, Jerry, we can say something else. Yeah. So we could be coming back to you saying, again, we'll have to read exactly everything that's said, but we're not.
The beauty of the transfer rule is it's not the athletic association of the girls' union's rule. It's state code, it's AE. In open enrollment, it's actually the legislature. We have to interpret that, and like I said, we've been told that, at least for last week, we've interpreted part of it wrong.
So these are the 9 exceptions on the transfer rule, and they're in our handbook. And when it comes to determining eligibility, Jared and Mr. Keating and myself, we really can only look at those first 8. So our guidelines are fair. Again, with that subsequent return to live with the parents, this is where there's number 3, the cooperative sharing agreement. So these are the situations we look at. This one, number 9, is kind of a catch-all. And again, the administrative code, not Tom Keating or Rick Loco or Ellen Besky or Craig Eden, right? That's not their decision. This is the administrative code of Iowa, 281-36-15-3, that says that the Board of Control and the Board of Directors has the authority to use extenuating circumstances to make somebody eligible. Jared and myself and Craig and Gary Ross and Tom and Gene, we don't have that authority to do so. Only our Board of Directors or Board of Control can do that. So somebody might, we might have to say, they don't meet the exceptions, your student isn't eligible. And so then they have to go through the process. The board then can look at number 9 and decide extenuating circumstances and what those might be. Did they investigate things thoroughly? And again, that's what a lot of them are based on is they'll say, it's number 9. You're right, Todd, none of these 8 meet here, except so we're going to go with number 9 to appeal to your board. Because something else unique happened. Again, just specifically now, the next slide is going to look at number 4. These are these unique circumstances. Again, these are all basically legal documents and things that need to adopt them. Or it's placement in foster or shelter care. The judge has to say that you are a ward of the state or that you are going into foster care because your parents have done something so bad or given you up that you are now in foster care. Participation in a foreign exchange program. Right? A lot of other states do not allow foreign exchange students to play varsity out here in Iowa, and we allow that. We also allow homeschoolers. A lot of other states don't allow homeschoolers to participate in athletic programs. They have to be there a certain amount of days. So again, we're a little more liberal than some other states. And these next 3, again, placement in a juvenile correction facility, substance abuse, mental health, those aren't voluntary aspects. I just can't say, you know what, I'll use my own personal situation, with our son. We had to, he one Saturday morning, and so we didn't have a choice. We had to, it was either his choices to either go to Eldora, to a detention center, or to go to a facility up in Waverly. And that was court ordered, that was a judge. We had to go in front of a judge, and he gave, it was court ordered. Again, the same things too, participation in substance abuse. Is that, oh, I just feel like going to a substance abuse program. There has to be a court-ordered aspect of things. Or again, a mental health program. It's court-ordered, it's not just, oh, we think we're going to send him there for 3 or 4 weeks. So while he's there, can he play athletics in that particular program? Maybe not necessarily so. So again, those are all, Section 4 all deals with legal things through a judge that has to make those decisions. So, that talks about the divorce decree, it talks about legal separation. The last one there. So it's that huge part of it. But again, all those exceptions are things that we're looking at. And again, that number 9 is a catch-all. But if you know in eligibility.
Yeah. I know we're going in depth into open enrollment, but when you brought up the move, would they choose?
Correct.
So would they become eligible in Trainer, Underwood, wherever they choose if they were a junior? Because of the move? Or does the move not matter because it's not the school district's area? Does that make sense? So they move from Lewis Central to Council Bluffs AL's district. You decide they don't want to go to AL, but they don't want to go back to LC, open enrolled trainer. And they've been at Lewis Central for 2 years now.
There was bullying harassment at help.
No, they just decided, the family moved to a different district, which opens up that after the.
There's still 90 days.
Still 9 days, right? You see that now.
And again, and we don't follow the, that's above our pay scale, that's between, the school districts. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of stuff there, but again, we'll get some of this on our website as well too. We've gone over it a little bit.
One thing we talked about in the other sites too is that sometimes you're going to have to sit in our house page, call our office, and let's help you through that. Because the question is, hey, they're a senior, they have enough credits, they're not going to take any courses. Can they still run track for us? Well, no, then they've graduated. Even though they're a house page, they need to take courses. So call our office on if you're dealing. Sometimes you're going to end up dealing with that.
Any questions? I know your heads are spinning.
Just because we gave you the crash course,
Just trying to provide you, like I said, wanting you to be a little more comfortable with things. Again, they might still be coming up this winter for kids that wanting to move. October 19th, winter guidance will be coming out, so we'll share that with you first, and then again, your meetings will be starting, Zoom meetings will be starting soon after that for the winter. So
Football playoffs Saturday by
noon on Saturday, yes. Yep. So you don't need to stay up till
next Wednesday or Thursday, pay on the ITC, fireworks.
All right. Who's up here next? Thank you all very much.
Thank you again to the Girls Union and the Boys Association coming down. I know personally they've been a great resource when you have questions, so continue to use those guys. We got Zach, Jeff, and Bo, I think, with some door prizes. We're ready to go.
Don Hicks. Marissa Dominski. Scott Giles. Like pink? John Burris.
You want pink?
Sure.
Mike Powell. Andy Mitchell. Matt Warren.
We can play.
Jerry Miller.
Where are you?
Jake Ward.
That is exactly what it is.
Bo Jacobson. Kevin Dow.
I didn't know
Hey, nobody's leaving until these tickets are gone. Meet me at my red van.
I'll throw 7 years.
Let's go get tickets. Josh Porter.
T-shirt.
Joe Wallum. Randy Bolton.
There you go.
Matt Ambrose. Tim Schreiber.
He sits right there on the file.
Greg Ernster. Andrew Radloff.
Played him twice.
5, 6, 7.
Andy Stokes.
We're gonna play 5 o'clock. Like last time we played 6:15. We only played January.
Anybody not get anything? Did I miss a name when I wrote it down? I turned around and wrote it down.
I literally gave myself a contract. It's like, there you might.
He did a lot. A couple more minutes here, we need something to drink, or two less, before we get going for Harley.
Most likely. It happens.
How you doing there, big guy?
Pretty good, how are you? Enjoy the rest of the fall. Let's hope, it brings us some good
I'll give you a 60-second warning to head back to your seats. Take over here a little bit.
When she committed to basically,
All right, we'll go ahead. I know Harley's probably got either a big golf match or something going on today, so we'll go ahead and let him get going.
Yeah, I agree.
Our Executive Director for the Iowa High School Athletic Association.
Thank you. If I could have your attention. I'd just like to start with, we've heard Mr. Keating, everybody else, talking about your situation and how difficult it's been, and I'm with you on this. I've never seen anything quite like it. I'd like to say thank you in a certain way, other than just words. So I also thought about what can I do to make this better for you. And I heard along the way that a Snickers can make things better. So I've got a Snickers bar for everybody here, and hopefully it'll make real good. Those with membership. It's about 50-50 on what schools are deciding to do, whether to use credit cards or whether to use check PO. One thing I did want to address is dual membership. For those of you who understand this, the NIAAA, which is our National Interscholastic Athletic Association, did this for at least 5 years. And this year they decided that we would go to a dual membership state. When you register with us, you register with the NIAAA, and it costs you $160. That's 34 of the states in the United States have dual membership rather than any modified. Last year, 82% go that direction. I think there's a couple things that are overriding importance. The first one, to do all our professional development certification process, which I have a booklet here that is available to you if you're interested in the NIAAA certification process. The other thing is that there are other benefits to the NIAAA. First of all, it's a $2.5 million liability insurance coverage that you have. And in this day and age, this or lifetime membership that you get $2,500 life insurance policy. I will put out at the end of these district meetings a procedure to establish your beneficiaries. So, tremendous benefit as far as I'm concerned. The NIAAA hosts us in a lot of things. We take place in the National Convention. And I have one of these booklets. Some people want hard copies of what's available from the NIAAA. I have a limited number, but I encourage you, if you are interested in August 5th and 6th, we were supposed to teach our first evaluator approval training course. This course has been under development for 3 years, having to gain approval from the Department of Ed, the Board of Educational Examiners, and I can tell you it's a tedious, long process, and right now we're scheduled to teach that again. We rescheduled our date to November 7th and 8th. It'll be at Norwalk High School, and it will start at 9 o'clock on the 7th, and then we will, Department of Ed requires, and the Board of Educational Examiners, that we have 15 hours of contact time. And I can honestly say we have one of the state representatives that's going to be there with us and observe the teaching of this class. So we got to stay pretty close on this one the first time around. So there is contact time, and it is a weekend, but it's 1 hour renewal credit. Please don't confuse. Some of you have taken the Fierce Conversations, which is a requirement for an administrator to get his administrative license or to keep it. This is not a replacement for that. It is just simply an additional course for credit, a renewal credit. And it's designed for the athletic administrator specifically. I think it's a great course. I'm excited to see it happen. If you have registered, we've already had 28 people last summer registered for the course. If you've registered for it, you are postponed. There's a lot of question about credit and refund. Last April when we canceled, some of you have done that, some haven't. Everybody's wondering, can I still get a credit? If you feel that you need a credit for the state convention, I haven't disputed that at all. So you can get that credit if you register by PO check. To get the credit, an automatic reduction if your email address asks for credit. If not, it won't do it for you. Said use the money that we used last year for full registration as a donation. And we like that option too, but certainly I don't want to mention that. I want to also ask you to submit any service awards, sports medicine, volunteer service. There are all sorts of awards that we will come out to your school. Last year was our first time doing it. Great success. I cannot tell you how many people appreciate the fact that you recognize them in front of the sailing event, the school assembly. It was a great success, and we will have a representative of our organization at that event. You just need to let us know when and where. So those are some of the most important things. Nominating that's worth $1,000. Last year, the winner of our state goes on to a Section 4. There are 8 sections in the United States, and I believe it was Jay Swanson. Last couple days, it was still not there. You'll have the opportunity to have more choices as far as the national convention.
Tom Peterson.
Tom is not here today, but Tom has served 15 years. The next one is Mark Starner, 15-year service award. We'd like to get a picture after we could, okay? The next one, Jeremy Christensen, 15-year award. Then we have our middle school AD of the Year here today, and that is Aaron Kirtley. we have your award for high school AD of the Year. Picture after. Middle school AD of the Year was Zach Clark. And we also have, last year, we have our past president with us here, Jeremy Christensen from Fremont Mills. If Jeremy would come forward. It's called the Kim Beverland Award. So those are some significant awards. Congratulations to everybody. I do also want to say, we also have one that we have not awarded before, and I want to have everybody, before you leave today, Derek, somewhere we have that form.
We're going to send it out electronically as well.
Okay, that's a better idea. What it is we have an administrator, Steve Nielsen, won that award this year, and Sean, you can come up and grab it right now. And with that also, we've added this year that administrative assistants, and we'd like to picture at the end of it. Administrative assistants, we're going to add what's called the Emeritus Award, which means recognition for administrative assistants and their longevity of service. And I think we'll have a combination of years working and your AD's membership, and they get some recognition at the convention as well. It's a great opportunity. So I hope that you take advantage of that and nominate your people, and also do online with this registration for administrative assistants. Okay, that's my part here. The next part that we're doing is something I would say we get from our convention. Every year at the end of our state convention, we do a survey. And that survey comes back to us, and we get comments, and we have categories. One of the overriding comments over my 7 years in this position discusses the Cracker Barrel. I attended the national or state convention there, and they had what was called an issues assembly. And here it goes. The first thing, they get together in small groups, like we are today. Hopefully we will get together in small, consolidated. And then finally, here's where we're going to change from the old Cracker Barrel. We're going to develop some recommendations as an organization. Do we want to, talk about football classifications? Do we want to make a recommendation? That gets into something a little different. I often hear about the state wrestling format, that there's coaches organizations out there who would like to see something different on the level at the state tournament, and how they qualify and all that goes with it. Do we have a recommendation, an action plan? If you don't have an action, it can be just because. Why do you feel the way you do? And what I thought I needed, but we'll make it work. And we'll try to be out of here somewhere before 12 o'clock. If we would, I'd like you to mix into smaller groups of 6 or 8. Still, I know we're social distancing, and I'm all for that. Somehow make it work where you spread out a little bit and talk. Now, one of the gals from Northwest Iowa said you need to give numbers. I thought, I don't want to give numbers. I would just like to see our people understand what we're saying, mix it up a little bit, get some people in your group, find a recorder and a spokesman, and come up with some ideas, issues, problems, concerns. Try to consolidate and see if you can put things together that all make sense. About 5-10 minutes together, and we will write out what your recommendations or your thoughts are. If you don't get completely done like you think it should be done, no problem. We're just doing some general things. What's the outcome of this? The outcome is we're going to do this in an issues assembly at our state convention this year, where you're going to break out the same way and see if there's some commonness around this state that our organization can advocate for. And finally, then we will post and we will write a document of what our recommendations are and our action plans. We'll put them on our website. We'll share them with the associations or anybody else that wants to understand what we're all about. And finally, I would just say, any modified group other than our association, such as a coaches association, they want us to consider something, reach out to them. I often think we hear about middle school sports. Maybe there's somebody that wants to expand or have another idea of how many games we should be playing in the middle school level. Right now, there's a big concern about with COVID-19, and if we have restrictions on our programs, our sports or whatever, what's going to happen? I think I know what's going to happen is these kids are going to go somewhere else than our schools. I would not want to be reactive with that. And that's the idea of this issues assembly. Sometimes we become reactive rather than proactive. The idea behind this is, let's be proactive with some issues that we think apply to all of us, not just particular individuals, particular schools. So and that's okay. We don't want to label anything, but that was, if you had a question of why aren't they here. So we're going to try to break out for, let's say, about 15 minutes and see whether you can get through, how many parts of this you can get through as a group. So I'd like you to rearrange, if you could, try to break your conference up. You talk to them all the time. Two sides of the room there. issues. That hadn't happened, I don't think, in the past very often. We have representatives on those boards, but honestly, that's an isolated individual, not an organization with ideas and recommendations. I think with an idea or with a problem, you got to come with a solution, and you have to do your due diligence as far as what is a good recommendation. The idea, Michigan, is we start the day of the, let's say, the Issues Assembly at the State Convention. You will have a printed paper with those recommendations, with the rationale, and somebody will make that proposal to a smaller group. Now, what type of small group did they have in Michigan? They did it by football classification. And each football classification considered each of those issues. And then they voted right in their small football classification. They voted whether to move that on to the full assembly, which happened the next day. And it took 60%, and I fully endorse this, 60% of those in the Cracker Barrel had to support the idea before it was moved to the floor. And then when it went to the floor, they voted right there. Each and every member, and they did it by hand. You could do it electronically. That's yet to be decided. And they voted there again. And before it went on their website and any sort of official proposal, they once again had to have over 60% of their delegates at the convention who attended this general business meeting, let's call it that. And then that's how they came up with the full-scale recommendation. So we thought we needed to do it at the grassroots level to get everybody from here that gets represented and gets to state their piece. I'm going to say something, Aaron, and you won't necessarily like it. Aaron Kirtley, our second vice president, this is 2 summers ago. I'm going to say this. The NIAAA was going to make a promotion to try to promote the athletic director around this country. And it came out with, correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, it was a statement about, it had the coach and they had the whistle and had the clipboard, and he's out there in his school shirt, he had a mustache, and they were saying he was going to work for you. He is going to organize your students. He sponsors this organization. He looks out for the welfare of all individuals. Aaron wrote a letter to the NIAAA, Mike Blackburn, saying that that was very much gender unfair. There was no mention of a female athletic director and administrator. I read the letter. Aaron sent it to me. It was well done. And she followed, what's the issue? What's the recommendation? And what's the rationale? So I went, later on that year, I went to Chicago to a Section 4 meeting. And what did we do? We sat down at round tables with Mike Blackburn, the NIAAA president, and we discussed that issue right there. And he told me that they had an advertising company that never gave a thought to any of those recommendations that Aaron had made. And they had to redo how they did this promotion. It was a public service announcement, PSA, and they redid it. So I'm just saying, it starts here. It started there with one person making a recommendation and having an action plan for it to make a difference. And I know Aaron probably doesn't want me to go on and on about it, but I think it serves as a good reminder to all of us. Your ideas are as good as anyone's, and your recommendations are as good as anybody. And I encourage you, if you have further thoughts on any of this, contact your district director, contact us, email me, any way you want. I'm always available. So any thoughts for the cause? trying to just identify and trying to see if we can make have a bigger voice. So before we leave, I'm begging you. We have some of these posters put out by Safe Sports Zone. One of them says, "Powerful words, please, sorry, thank you." Another one says, "Treat people with respect." I got a bunch of these. They're laying where, Jeff?
Right over there on that table where the door prizes were.
Then there's one about code of conduct. Everybody's got one. They're very general, and it's just simply something that maybe could help you out. So those are out on the table. Thanks again for all you guys do. I can't believe this year. It keeps getting more astounding by the day. And you are already the hardest working individuals in your district, and yet they ask more of you. And I always go back to a statement by a sports psychologist I heard a couple summers ago. His name is Dr. Kevin Elko, and he worked with sports psychology with the University of Alabama, and he described good work. We all work. He talks about good work, and you guys are doing good work. Good work means you're making the difference. You're making the difference in the lives of individuals, schools, and community. Those things have an impact on everything you do and everybody you contact. And I salute you for it, and thanks again, and have a great rest of the day. So, enjoy. Please take these, I'm begging.
All right, for our senior director, we're going to wrap it up today after the raffle ticket. So I think Guy and Jeff, whoever's doing the drawing, we're going to do that. Food, I believe, is here. Obviously, you can eat it here, enjoy it here, and enjoy some more fellowship time. I did notice during the lot, we haven't seen you for a while, so you can extend and continue those conversations you have. Maybe some of you have some issues you can go through. But obviously, you're welcome to stay here as long as you need to. But once we get the raffle drawn, you'll have your food, and that will adjourn today's meeting. A couple reminders as they're getting set up over there. Over here, Harley set the back table. He's got some posters, I believe, back behind Guy and Jeff and Zach there. The BMI contract, if you need to get signed up for that, there's some copies back there, and there's another handout there as well. This year, something that was new per the Iowa High School AD Association, the bylaws, but there's no secretary, so there was no vote this year. So some of you are asking questions about that. Like Harley said, please nominate those students for scholarships. State conventions at the bottom of your sheet there. Make sure you're signed up for that. If you're like me a couple years ago, make sure you get your hotel room as well. Harley, any update on that?
I would just say get it as early as you can. The Coralville Marriott, sometimes on the weekends, it depends upon who else is there. Most of the time we don't have any trouble with Sunday night, but we can have trouble with Friday and Saturday night. So I'll have something out as far as convention and rooms. We're due to go over, we annually meet with the Coralville Marriott to discuss many of these details, and then I will have an email out to you with the code and everything you need to know about registration and getting the rate for our organization, which will be, I believe it's $108, which is still a pretty good deal. So, any other questions?
Yeah, and I do know if you can't get in there, there's a couple up the street that aren't bad. They're a little closer to establishments.
They're really very nice.
Yeah.
They're almost an upgrade.
Yeah. So,
I shouldn't say that. I didn't.
But yeah, make sure you get there at the Marriott. It makes things nice. But if not, there are other available.
Much nicer to be in the facility.
I did that one.
And then Mr. Cook did update me, or, excuse me, yeah, Jeff did update me that, it's not the secretary position, it's the vice president position, so that's what we don't. So next year we'll just elevate, and we'll be good from there. Big drawing, take it away, Mr. Clark, Mr. Clark.
Five, you got five, we'll start lowest to highest. This is for $30.
Matt Warren.